Imagine this. It's a perfectly routine morning, June 12th, 2025.
Okay.
You've got a Boeing 787-8 Dreamliner, Air India flight AI-171, getting ready for takeoff from Ahmedabad.
Right, bound for London Gatwick.
Everything looks completely normal, a standard flight, people settling in until it just wasn't standard anymore.
Right.
Today, we're doing a deep dive into the preliminary report from India's Aircraft Accident Investigation Bureau.
The AAIB.
Exactly, about that Air India 787 crash. This report, it's packed with critical info, but it's pretty complex stuff.
It can be, yeah.
So our mission today is really to cut through some of that complexity, help you understand the key findings, the sequence of events, like minute by minute, that led to this tragedy.
Based on this initial data they've released.
Precisely.
And it's really important, I think, right at the start to understand what a preliminary report actually is.
Good point.
It's based on the initial facts, the early evidence. And the report itself says this information is subject to change as the investigation goes on.
So not the final word.
Definitely not. Its only goal, its sole objective, is accident prevention. That's it.
Okay.
It's not about assigning blame or, liability. The report even warns against using it for other things because you could easily get the wrong idea.
Right. The focus is learning lessons to stop it happening again.
Exactly. Prevention.
Okay, that's a vital distinction to keep in mind. So with that framework, we'll focus on unpacking these initial findings. We'll try to piece together that timeline of events.
And explore the big questions that this data raises straight away.
Yeah, we're here to guide you through it, make sure the important stuff comes across clearly.
Sounds good.
So let's start with the stark facts. What happened, when, and where?
Okay.
The accident occurred June 12th, 2025. The time was 08:09 UTC.
Which is 13.39 local time, Indian Standard Time.
Right there in Ahmedabad, India. And it involved Air India flight AI-171.
And the human cost. I mean, it's just devastating.
It really is.
All 12 crew members, that's the 2 flight crew, and all 10 cabin crew, suffered fatal injuries.
Everyone working on the plane?
Yes. And of the 230 passengers, 229 were fatally injured. Just one passenger survived, with serious injuries.
Incredible. One survivor out of 230.
And it doesn't end there. 19 people on the ground were also killed.
Oh, wow.
And another 67 on the ground suffered serious injuries. The scale is just immense.
Yeah, that really brings it home. And, the international response kicked in immediately.
It had to.
The NTSB, the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, got notified straight away.
Right, because the U.S. is the state of design and manufacture for the Boeing 787.
Exactly. So they sent an accredited representative, plus technical advisors from Boeing itself, GE for the engines, and the FAA.
Standard procedure for an accident involving a U.S.-built plane.
And also the investigation bodies from the UK, Portugal, and Canada were notified too.
Because they sadly had citizens among the fatalities.
Right. So a global dimension right from the start.
And following that, an investigation team was put together very quickly.
Not just anyone, I assume?
No, a really comprehensive team, subject matter experts, SMEs, we're talking experienced pilots, engineers, specialists in aviation medicine, flight recorder experts.
The whole range needed to tackle something like this.
Absolutely. Their combined expertise is crucial for figuring out every single aspect of what went wrong.
Okay, so let's shift focus to the aircraft itself. What do we know about it?
All right. It was a Boeing 7878, registration VT-ANB.
Okay.
Manufactured back in 2013. So not brand new, but certainly a modern aircraft.
And its flight hours?
At the time of the accident, it had logged over 41,868 total flight hours.
Wow, okay. And its airworthiness, was it certified to fly?
Yes, its last airworthiness review certificate, the ARC, was actually issued quite recently, May 22, 2025.
Just weeks before the accident.
Exactly. And it was perfectly valid.
What about maintenance? Any recent work done?
Well, its last major line checks, the L11 and L12, they were done at around 38,500 hours.
Okay.
The next really big one, the D check, that's like a full overhaul, wasn't due until December 2025.
So still some time away.
Yeah. What's also interesting is the engines. Both were installed relatively recently.
Oh.
Yeah, the left engine went on May 1st, 2025, and the right one on March 26, 2025.
So both engines were quite fresh from installation, less than 3 months old on the airframe?
Pretty much, yes.
And what about its operational status on the day? Anything noteworthy, like MLL items, minimum equipment list?
Right, the MEL. So for listeners, that's a list of things that can be broken, essentially, but the plane is still safe to fly for a limited time.
Okay.
This aircraft, VT-ANB, had 4 active Cat CMLs. Category C means they could be inoperative for up to 10 days.
What were they?
Minor things, relatively speaking. Flight deck door visual surveillance, the airport map function, something called the core network, and the flight deck printer.
Okay. Doesn't sound immediately alarming.
No, and there was one Cat AML. That category is a bit more restrictive, needs fixing within a specific time frame related to nitrogen generation performance. But again, all these MLs were active and valid. They didn't prevent a light.
So we have a plane that seems mechanically sound, recently certified, recent engine installs, valid MELs.
Exactly, which makes this next point potentially very significant.
Ah, okay. This sounds like the part you flagged earlier.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is where things get, well, really interesting and maybe concerning.
Tell us.
There was an FAA Special Airworthiness Information Bulletin, an SAIB, number NM1833, issued way back on December 17th, 2018.
Okay, 2018. What was it about?
It concerned the potential for the fuel control switch locking feature on the 787 to disengage.
The fuel control switch.
Yeah.
Okay, the switches that cut fuel to the engines.
Precisely those switches. Now, this SAIB, it applied to 787-8s like VT-ANB. But here's the key thing. It was advisory.
Meaning not mandatory, like an airworthiness directive.
Exactly. It wasn't an AD. It recommended inspections but didn't mandate them.
I know.
According to Air India's statement in the report, those suggested inspections were not carried out on this particular aircraft, VT-ANB.
Wow, okay. So a known potential issue flagged by the FAA, but the recommended checks weren't done because it wasn't mandatory.
That appears to be the situation. Now, to be clear, the report also mentions that the throttle control module was replaced on this plane in 2019 and again in 2023.
Okay.
But the reasons given weren't related to this fuel control switch issue. And importantly, there were no defect reports logged specifically for the fuel control switch itself since 2023.
So no recent reported problems with the switch itself, but the underlying potential issue flagged by the FAA wasn't inspected for.
That's the picture painted by the report. It definitely leaves a big question hanging there for the investigators, doesn't it?
It certainly does. Keep that SAIB in mind, everyone, as we move to the actual flight. Because what the data shows happened next is, well, it's almost hard to believe. Let's set the scene for that flight, AI-171. The plane had just arrived from Delhi.
Right.
And they did some troubleshooting for a stab POS XDCR message.
That's a transducer related to the horizontal stabilizer position, controls pitch.
Okay. But the report says that was resolved, fixed, and the aircraft was released for the flight to London.
So clear to go.
Yep.
Now, the crew. The pilot in command, the PIC, held in ATPL the highest license, a 56-year-old male.
Experienced captain.
And the co-pilot held a CPL, a commercial pilot license. He was 32 years old, male, and was designated as the pilot flying for this leg.
Okay, so the first officer was handling the takeoff.
Correct. And crucially, both pilots were confirmed, rested, and fit. They passed the pre-flight breath analyzer tests.
Standard checks, all clear.
So everything looks normal from a crew perspective, too.
The air traffic control recordings give us a really precise timeline leading up to takeoff.
What do they show?
Pushback request was at 07.43.000 UTC. Then, around 7.49, ATC asked if they needed the full runway length for runway 23.
And did they?
They confirmed, yes, full length required. Taxi clearance came at 07.55.15.
Okay.
They were told to line up on runway 23 at 08.03.45, and then cleared for takeoff at 08.07.33 UTC.
So just under 4 minutes between lining up and takeoff clearance?
Yeah, pretty standard. Winds were light, too, reported as 240 degrees at 6 knots. Just a gentle breeze. Okay, everything is still pointing towards a completely normal departure.
Up to this point, yes.
We'll have the critical moments. The takeoff roll itself. This comes from the EAFR, the Enhanced Airborne Flight Recorder data. The black box.
The crucial data source.
At 08.007.37 UTC, the aircraft starts its takeoff roll, wheels turning.
Okay, rolling.
Then at 08.08.33 UTC, it crosses V1. That's the decision speed. 153 knots indicated airspeed.
No turning back after V1. Committed to takeoff.
Exactly. Just 2 seconds later, AO 8.08.35, it hits VR rotation speed, 155 knots. Nose comes up.
Liftoff sequence initiated.
And at 08.08.39 UTC, the sensors confirm liftoff. Air-ground sensors switch to air mode.
Airborne.
The aircraft then accelerates further, reaching its maximum recorded airspeed of 180 knots IIS at about 08.08.42 UTC.
Okay. Climbing away normally.
But this is where normal ends. abruptly.
What does the data show?
Immediately after hitting that 180 knots, literally at 08.08.42 UTC.
Yes.
The EAFR data shows the engine 1 fuel cutoff switch transitions from RN to set-off.
Cutoff.
Yes. And then, just 1 second later, the engine 2 fuel cutoff switch does the exact same thing. RNN to CF.
Both engines, within 1 second, immediately after liftoff.
Both engines. Fuel supply cut. And as you'd expect, the EAFR immediately shows N1 and N2 speeds, the engine core speeds, starting to decrease rapidly.
Because they've been starved of fuel.
Wow. And here's where it gets incredibly unsettling. The human element from the cockpit voice recorder, the CVR.
What did it capture?
One pilot is clearly heard asking the other pilot why they cut off the engines.
Okay, so a direct question.
And the other pilot's response, according to the report, was a clear denial. He said, quote, he did not do so.
He denied cutting the engines, even though the switch is moved.
That's what the preliminary report states. A recorded action on the EAFR and a recorded denial on the CVR.
That's a staggering contradiction. How do investigators even begin to approach that?
It's got to be the absolute core of the investigation, right?
Absolutely. It's massive. You have hard data showing the switch is moved. You have a voice recording seemingly denying the action.
So what do they do?
They'll be analyzing every fraction of a second of that CVR, tone of voice, background sound, the exact timing in relation to the switch movement data. They have to consider everything.
Like what?
Could it be an automation issue? Did something command the switches without pilot input? Was it an inadvertent action, maybe a hand slipped, or they hit the wrong switch under stress? Or is there some psychological element?
It opens up so many possibilities.
Exactly. It's not about jumping to conclusions or blame. It's about meticulously understanding the interplay between the pilots and the machine in those critical seconds. Why did those switches move?
And the consequences were immediate, weren't they?
Devastatingly fast.
Yeah.
Airport CCTV footage actually captured the ram air turbine, the RAT, deploying during that initial climb phase.
A little emergency propeller.
Yeah, it pops out automatically to provide emergency hydraulic power. Well, the engine core speeds drop below a certain threshold, a sign of major power loss.
And they ruled out birds.
The report specifically notes no significant bird activity was observed near the aircraft. So a bird strike causing dual engine failure seems unlikely based on this initial info.
Okay, so engines winding down, RA deployed.
And the aircraft started losing altitude very quickly, before it even got past the airport perimeter.
Just seconds. Seconds between normal flight and rapid descent.
A lifetime unfolding in under a minute, captured by the data recorders.
But they tried to recover, didn't they? The data shows attempts.
Yes, absolutely. A desperate attempt. At 08.08.52 UTC, about 10 seconds after the cutoff began,
Okay.
Engine 1's fuel cutoff switch is moved back, from sheet-off to run-in.
Trying to restart Engine 1.
Exactly. Then 2 seconds later, at 08.08.54, the APU inlet door starts opening.
The auxiliary power unit.
Right, the small jet engine usually in the tail. This opening is consistent with the APU auto-start logic kicking in the plane, trying to get another source of power online.
Makes sense.
And then 2 more seconds after that, at 0.08.56 UTC, the Engine 2 fuel cutoff switch is also moved back from seat-off to run-in.
So trying to relight both engines about 14 seconds after they were cut off.
Yes, a rapid sequence of attempting recovery.
So fuel is flowing again. What happens in the engines? Do they relight?
When you move those switches back to run-in and flight, the FADC, the engine's computer brain, full authority digital engine control, takes over.
Okay.
It automatically manages a relight sequence. Ignition, fuel flow. The report says the EGT, exhaust gas temperature, was seen rising for both engines.
Which indicate
Combustion. A relight was happening in both engines.
good news.
Partially.
Yeah.
Engine 1's core speed deceleration stopped, it reversed, and it actually started to recover, spooling back up.
Okay, one engine coming back. What about Engine 2?
Engine 2 also relit. The FADEC detected rotation and initiated the sequence. But tragically, it couldn't arrest its core speed deceleration fast enough.
It relit but couldn't gain speed.
It seemed so. The report says it repeatedly reintroduced fuel trying to accelerate. But the core speed kept dropping. It couldn't recover in time.
So one engine starting to come back, the other one relit but failing.
Not enough. Not enough height. Not enough time.
And then the final call.
At air rate 0.09.05 UTC, just 19 seconds after the recovery attempt began, one of the pilots transmitted, "Mayday, mayday, mayday."
The universal distress call.
Yes, and the EAFR recording itself stopped just 6 seconds later at 08.09.11 UTC.
The moment of impact, presumably.
That's what it indicates.
Yeah.
ATC controllers on the ground saw the aircraft crash outside the airport boundary and immediately hit the crash alarm, activating the emergency response.
Such a rapid, catastrophic sequence. Unbelievable. Where did it actually crash?
The aircraft impacted the BJ Medical College hostel.
A building?
Yes, located just under a nautical mile, 0.9 nm from the departure end of runway 23, very close to the airport.
And the emergency locator, the ELT?
Tragically, the report states the emergency locator transmitter did not activate. It's designed to transmit a distress signal automatically on impact.
Why wouldn't it activate?
That's another question for the investigation. Sometimes severe impact forces or fire can damage them or their wiring before they can activate, or perhaps there was an issue with the unit itself.
Okay. And the crash site itself, what did it look like?
The debris field was huge, spread over an area about 1,000 feet long by 400 feet wide. Gives you an idea of the violence of the impact.
Total fragmentation.
Pretty much. The impact sequence seems to have started with the plane hitting trees and an incineration chimney inside a nearby Army Medical Corps compound.
Okay.
Then it struck the northeast wall of Building A of the hostel complex. Witness marks on the building and wreckage suggest the plane hit in a nose-up attitude, maybe around 8 degrees, with the wings roughly level.
Nose high, wings level. Consistent with trying to climb or arrest the descent.
Plausible, yes. The impact forces just tore the aircraft apart.
How is the wreckage distributed?
It was scattered widely. The vertical stabilizer, the tail fin, actually separated and landed about 200 feet south of that initial Building A impact.
Wow.
The rest of the tail section and the right main landing gear ended up embedded in Building A. The right engine hit a concrete water tank structure and separated completely.
Just incredible forces at play.
Absolutely. Other parts, bits of the right wing were found in Buildings A and B and the areas around them.
Okay.
The left main landing gear and parts of left wing hit Building C. The nose gear was found over 300 feet from the first impact point.
Thrown quite a distance.
Yes. And the left engine hit Building D right at ground level. The main fuselage basically disintegrated across multiple buildings, C, D, E, and F.
A picture of complete destruction.
Utterly.
Now, inside the cockpit wreckage, investigators always look closely at the controls. What did they find there?
Right, trying to understand the crew's last actions. They found the flap handle firmly set in the 5-degree position.
Which is normal for takeoff.
Yes. Consistent with a normal takeoff flap setting, and the EAFR data confirmed the flaps were at 5 degrees throughout.
Okay. What about the landing gear lever?
And that was found in the down position.
Down, even though they were airborne.
Yes. Now, that could mean several things. They might not have had time to retract it, or perhaps it was moved down during the emergency, or even shifted by impact forces. The EAFR would likely clarify when or if it was moved after takeoff, though the report doesn't detail that specific point yet.
Okay. And the thrust levers. And those crucial fuel control switches.
This is where we see another discrepancy between wreckage and data, something investigators often face.
How so?
The thrust levers in the wreckage were found near the aft position, near idle, but they were severely damaged by fire. And the EAFR data is crystal clear. The thrust levers remained forward in the takeoff thrust position right up until impact.
So the fire damage made them look like they were pulled back, but the data says they weren't.
Exactly. The data trail is paramount here. And similarly, both fuel control switches were found in the RN position in the wreckage.
RUN, but the data said they went to cutoff and then back to RUN during the flight.
Correct. So their final position in the wreckage matches the last command recorded by the EAFR before impact. But it again highlights how impact forces and fire can alter the scene. You rely on the data trail first and foremost.
It really underscores the importance of those recorders.
Absolutely critical.
So, speaking of the recorders, what's the status there? They recovered them?
Yes. The forward EAFR, the combined flight data and cockpit voice recorder, was recovered, although it had thermal damage.
From the fire?
Yes. But thankfully, it was successfully downloaded. That's where they got about 49 hours of flight data and the crucial 2 hours of cockpit voice recording covering the accident flight.
That's huge. What about the aft recorder? Planes often have two.
They do. Unfortunately, the aft EAFR was too badly damaged for a conventional download at the time of the report. And it's worth mentioning, the report acknowledges the NTSB's help here. They provided specialized gear, like a golden chassis and specific download cables, to help retrieve the data from the forward recorder.
Shows the international cooperation involved.
Definitely. Essential when dealing with complex equipment and severe damage.
So what are the next steps for the investigation now?
Well, the on-site wreckage recovery work is complete. Everything's been moved to a secure hangar for detailed examination.
Piece by piece.
Meticulously. Both engines were retrieved and are quarantined, waiting for detailed teardown and analysis by specialists.
Looking for internal clues.
Exactly. Fuel samples from the refueling trucks and airport tanks were tested and came back satisfactory. No issues there.
Rules out contaminated fuel from the source.
Right. Though they note some limited fuel samples taken from other aircraft components are still waiting for more specialized tests. They're covering all bases.
And witnesses. The survivor.
Yes. Witness statements have been collected, including from the sole surviving passenger. And a full analysis of the post-mortem reports for the crew and passengers is also underway.
Looking for any medical factors, I suppose.
Any contributing factors at all. It's a very broad, very deep investigation.
So pulling this all together, based on this preliminary report, what does it really mean at this stage? That core mystery remains, right?
Absolutely. It's profound. You have clear EAFR data showing the fuel cutoff switches moving to CAOF.
Action recorded.
And then you have the CVR data with a pilot explicitly denying that action.
Contradiction recorded. How significant is that gap?
It's incredibly significant. It's the central technical and human factors puzzle right now. Did the pilot act and not realize it? Did they misspeak? Was there a system malfunction that caused the switches to move without pilot input, leading to the confused denial?
That advisory SAIB about the switch mechanism comes back to mind.
It inevitably does. Could that potential vulnerability, which wasn't inspected for, have played a role in an uncommanded switch movement? It's a critical question they must answer.
But they aren't making recommendations yet.
No. The report is very clear on this. It states, and I'll quote again, at this stage of investigation, there are no recommended actions to B787-8 and/or GE GX1B engine operators and manufacturers.
So basically, we know what happened in sequence, but we don't know why yet, so we can't tell anyone what to change.
That's a fair summary. They need more analysis, more testing, possibly more data recovery from the afterquarter if possible, before determining the definitive cause or causes. Only then can they issue meaningful safety recommendations.
So that leaves us, and everyone listening, with this central puzzle. A modern, state-of-the-art jet, experienced pilots, clear weather. Then this sudden, catastrophic loss of power right after lifting off.
Both engines cut simultaneously.
Followed by that frantic but ultimately unsuccessful attempt to restart and recover.
With engine 2 just not able to spool up in time.
And hanging over it all, that pilot's denial captured on the voice recorder, I didn't do it.
It's chilling.
A true aviation mystery, unfolding in real-time data.
And it's crucial, again, to remember the report's purpose. This isn't about finding fault right now.
Prevention, not blame.
Exactly. This preliminary report does a vital job. It lays out the known facts, the sequence, the observations, meticulously. It paints that detailed picture of what happened.
A catastrophic failure sequence.
Yes. But it deliberately and correctly leaves the fundamental question of why it happened for the final, more comprehensive investigation report. This is step one.
A critical first step. So as we wrap up this deep dive, maybe a final thought for our listeners to ponder. Considering everything we've unpacked, the precise timing, the advanced aircraft, the advisory bulletin that wasn't acted upon, the engine relight sequence, and especially that stark contradiction between the switch data and the pilot's words. What factors, or maybe what combination of factors, mechanical, maybe human error, maybe something systemic, maybe even something completely unforeseen, could possibly lead to such a rapid, devastating chain of events right at that most critical moment of flight, just seconds after liftoff?
That is the multi-million-dollar question, isn't it?
It really is. What hidden layers might still need to be peeled back in the full investigation before we truly understand how this tragedy unfolded?